Beneath the surface of the world's deepest oceans lies a darkness we've barely touched. No sunlight, no sound, just endless pressure and the possibility of something watching from below. For centuries, sailors have returned from the sea with stories they couldn't explain. Ships torn apart in still waters, crews vanishing without a trace, shadows that moved against the current, and always the whisper of something massive just beneath the waves. The Kraken. Not just a sea monster, a legend carved into maps and minds alike. A beast so large its back was mistaken for an island, a creature said to rise from the depths with arms wide enough to pull entire ships under. One moment, calm waters. The next, chaos. But where did this legend come from? Some say it was born in the icy waters of the North Atlantic, in the stories of Norsemen and Viking raiders. Others believe it traveled the world, hiding in the deep, leaving pieces of its truth in every ocean myth we've ever told. Tonight, we're diving into more than just salt water and ink. We're diving into fear itself, the fear of what we can't see, of what might be waiting just out of reach. From ancient scrolls to sonar blips, from sailor tales to scientific evidence, the Kraken has never truly left us. It lives in the space between fact and folklore. And as we descend into the depths of this story, ask yourself, is the Kraken just a monster from myth or something real we're not ready to find? Because sometimes the most terrifying things are not the ones we've seen, but the ones we still believe are watching. Long before sonar and satellite maps, sailors navigated the seas with nothing but the stars, their instincts and their fears. And in the cold waters of the North Atlantic, fear had a name: Kraken. The earliest known accounts come from Norse legends, where Viking sailors spoke of sea creatures so massive, their backs were mistaken for islands. Men would drop anchor, light fires, even disembark, only to watch in horror as the island began to move. It wasn't land, it was alive. A 13th century Icelandic saga, Urvar Odr, describes a beast so enormous it could destroy ships simply by surfacing. No attack was needed. Its size alone was a weapon. The wake from its movement could snap a hull like a twig. Sailors didn't fear combat with the Kraken. They feared being noticed. But this wasn't just Norse imagination. As early cartographers attempted to chart the unknown world, they often wrote warnings in uncharted waters. Here be monsters. One of those monsters always was the Kraken. Even into the Middle Ages, stories spread through Europe of entire fleets disappearing in calm seas. No storm, no pirates, just silence. Survivors, if there were any, spoke of shadows that blotted out the sun, of suction cups the size of shields, of water that boiled with movement then stilled as if nothing had happened. And one story lingers more than the rest. A merchant ship out of Bergen once sailed into calm waters beneath a cloudless sky. Within minutes, stars vanished above them, not from fog, but from something darker and alive. A single man lived to tell the tale, clinging to driftwood, whispering of a silence that screamed, and an eye as wide as a sail. Real or imagined, the first sightings weren't about a creature. They were about awe, about scale, about something in the water that made even seasoned warriors feel small. The Kraken wasn't born in fairy tales. It came from folklore shaped by real fear and the unforgiving power of the sea. Its name first surfaced in Scandinavian legends, drawn from the Norwegian word krake, which loosely referred to something twisted, deformed, or unnatural. But the Kraken wasn't just a weird creature. It became the creature, the sea's ultimate apex predator. For centuries, fishermen along the coasts of Norway and Greenland told stories of a leviathan that could rise from the depths, create whirlpools with its movement, and drag even the largest ships into darkness. Its arms were said to wrap around masts, snap them like twigs, and crush vessels without a sound. But it wasn't chaos for the sake of destruction. It was nature unbound. In the 18th century, the Kraken took on new life when Erik Pontoppidan, a Danish-Norwegian bishop and natural historian, included it in his scientific writings. He described it as a creature a mile wide, capable of swallowing entire fleets and churning the sea for miles around. Pontoppidan claimed the beast could attract fish in such numbers that fishermen sought it out, not to fight it, but to fish the swarms that circled its bulk. That idea made it more terrifying. The Kraken wasn't just a destroyer, it was a force of nature, both feared and respected. It blurred the line between folklore and zoology. Over time, the name Kraken spread beyond the fjords. Sailors in the Caribbean, the South Pacific, and even the Atlantic began whispering of it. As legends traveled with explorers and merchants, the Kraken migrated from one ocean to the next, becoming a global symbol of the unknown. This wasn't just a monster, it was myth becoming memory, and the more we tried to define it, the bigger it seemed to grow. For centuries, the Kraken was dismissed as a sailor's fantasy, an excuse for lost ships or tall tales after too much rum. But then something strange happened. The sea began giving up its secrets. In the mid-1800s, fishermen and explorers started finding the remains of massive creatures washed ashore. Giant, slimy carcasses with tentacles as long as a ship's mast. Some had eyes the size of dinner plates. Their skin was scarred, and their arms were lined with sharp, hook-like suckers. They weren't myths, they were real. These discoveries led scientists to officially classify the giant squid, Architeuthis dux, a deep-sea predator that could reach over 40 feet in length. But that wasn't all. In Antarctica's icy waters, another beast lurked, the colossal squid, Mesonychoteuthis hamiltoni. Even bigger, with swiveling hooks in its tentacles and the largest eyes of any known creature on Earth. And yet, for all we've discovered, we've rarely seen them alive. The few blurry clips captured by deep-sea submersibles only raise more questions. How do they hunt? How deep do they live? Are they more intelligent than we think? That mystery keeps the legend alive, because even now, the ocean remains one of the last unexplored frontiers. We've mapped more of the surface of Mars than the bottom of our own seas. And in that darkness, anything is possible. Maybe the Kraken wasn't just a story. Maybe it was the earliest name we gave to a species we didn't understand. Or maybe it's something more, something that hasn't yet been caught on camera, something watching from the deep. Science may have pulled back the curtain, but it hasn't closed the book. Not yet. The Kraken may have been born in Nordic seas, but it didn't stay there. The idea of a massive, intelligent sea monster appears in cultures across the globe, each with its own name, its own warning, and its own version of the beast. In Japanese folklore, there is the Akurokamui, a blood-red octopus god said to stretch over 100 feet long. It lives in the waters near Hokkaido and is worshipped as both a healer and a destroyer. Fishermen still offer prayers to avoid its wrath. Further south, Polynesian myths speak of taniwa, oceanic spirits that guard deep underwater caves and trenches. They can be protectors or devourers, depending on whether humans show them respect. Sailors who disobey taboos risk vanishing into the waves. Even the Philippines has tales of the sea serpent Bakunawa, said to rise from the depths to swallow the moon. Some say its hunger is why ships vanish. When a full moon shines too brightly, the beast stirs. The tale of the vanishing galleon. In the 17th century, a Spanish galleon sailing through the Philippine archipelago disappeared without a trace. Weeks later, fishermen discovered a piece of the ship's bell, twisted like wax and stained with sucker-shaped scars. They say the sea was too calm that night, unnaturally calm, and then the sky went black. Even in ancient Greek mythology, monsters like Scylla and Charybdis haunted narrow straits, pulling entire ships into the abyss. The sea, across time and language, has always had a face, and it's rarely a friendly one. Why do so many cultures share this fear? Because the ocean is a mystery that touches every shore. It speaks to something ancient in us, something that still listens and waits. We like to believe we've mapped the world, that satellites and sonar have revealed all there is to know, but the truth, we've explored more of the moon's surface than the deepest parts of our own oceans, and what we haven't seen still haunts us. Far below the reach of sunlight, where pressure crushes steel and time seems to stop, something ancient may still move. In 1997, a mysterious sound, nicknamed the bloop, was picked up by underwater microphones thousands of miles apart. It was louder than a blue whale. It was real. But no creature we know could have made it. Scientists say it might have been shifting ice. Others aren't so sure. Then there's the story of a diver off the Azores who claimed he followed a trail of bioluminescent jellyfish into a submerged cavern. Inside, he felt the water shift, as though something massive had passed just beyond his light. When he checked his sonar, he saw a shadow, bigger than a whale, 5 times over. Then, nothing. The screen went blank. The pressure dropped. He swam back in silence, never to dive again. Maybe that shadow was just his imagination. Or maybe it wasn't. The ocean is vast, dark, and quiet, perfect for hiding. If the Kraken were real and smart, it wouldn't show itself often. It wouldn't need to. One glimpse, one tragedy, one survivor, and the myth survives. Because sometimes myths don't need proof to endure, just mystery, just fear. So the question isn't, is the Kraken real? It's, what else is out there that we haven't seen yet? The deeper we go, the more we realize we've only skimmed the surface. So, does the Kraken truly exist? Science offers us glimpses: giant squid, colossal squid, sonar anomalies, but never full answers. Maybe that's the point. The Kraken, real or not, has always represented more than just a sea beast. It's the shape we give our fears. It's the unknown in physical form, rising from the deep just when we think we're safe. In every generation, the myth adapts, appearing in poems, paintings, pirate tales, and blockbuster films. We keep bringing it back because it speaks to something primal. In a world obsessed with control and clarity, the Kraken reminds us that some things remain wild. Some truths are buried in silence. And some monsters don't need proof to be real. They live inside our imagination, anchored by mystery, fueled by awe. Because it's not just about the ocean. It's about the fear of losing control, the terror of vanishing into the depths without explanation, the possibility that the most ancient and powerful forces don't care if we believe in them. They'll keep watching, waiting, beneath. Maybe the Kraken isn't a creature. Maybe it's a question. One that asks, what haven't we discovered? What haven't we understood? And what if the oldest stories were just warnings dressed as legends? So the next time you stare out at a quiet sea and feel something stir beneath your feet, remember, some myths were never meant to be solved. They were meant to remind us that we're not alone. Drop us a comment and let us know where in the world you're watching from. And if this tale stirred something deep within you, hit subscribe. A new ancient mystery surfaces tomorrow, because every myth begins with a ripple. And sometimes that ripple is just the beginning.